Hello, and welcome to the Top Floor, the podcast where Charlotte area CEOs get to tell their leadership journey. My name is Jeff Cass. I'm an executive coach and leader of a peer advisory group for CEOs and business leaders here in Charlotte, and I'll be your host today. I'm happy to have Jared Poniatowski, who runs New Age Marketing, with us today. Jared, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having us on, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You were talking beforehand. You and I are both from this small town in Erie, Pennsylvania, and we ended up in Charlotte together here.
That's awesome. Small world.
It is. Yeah, yeah. Much more sun and much less snow here, which I think we both like, right?
100%.
100%. Yeah. So, all right. So, New Age Marketing, we were talking a little bit. It's 10 years old. You founded it 10 years ago, and they were named, or you were named, the Marketing Company of the Year in Charlotte in 2022. So, tell us about the business.
Yeah, so we've been working, expanding for the past 10 years. We have national retail, direct sales, direct marketing company, right? So what we do is we develop leaders for Fortune 500 clients. We work with like Apple, Samsung, Google, AT&T, some home improvement companies, Leaf Filter, SunPro Solar. So basically any company that's Fortune 500 or above. And then national retail. We partner them with national retailers, Costco, Sam's Club, BJ's Wholesale, Target. And those businesses, it just provides an extra stream of income, an additional revenue stream to those retailers. But it also helps, branding, sales, marketing for the actual client, right? And when you have a client the size of, an AT&T, multifaceted company, they want to be in as many retailers as possible because it's a lot more lucrative for them rather than building a, $2 million AT&T store. They can put a $80,000 kiosk inside of a Costco and do 9 times the volume, so it's
Okay.
definitely a win-win.
So, you set up these connections with the large companies, to put some kind of in store kiosk or set up inside the bigger box store, maybe? Do I have that right?
Yep. And then we train the representatives for in-store marketing and promotions. And our management training program allows us to, expand our business as well as AT&T's business or that client's business at the same time and throughout the national retail channel.
Okay. So, how do you get started in something like that?
Well, I was working for Critical Path Resources through Duke Energy, and that wasn't really what I wanted to do. I wanted to, be in business for myself. I applied to an ad for a company, Supreme Management Group. It was one of my mentors in the industry, and I worked with him until for about a year and a half until he retired. And the suggestion from him was to open New Age Marketing and do it on my own from there. And it's been great because I've had a lot of mentors in the industry, and the network's been amazing to talk to a lot of other CEOs out there that do similar work.
Okay. Okay. So, would you say that he was one of your most influential mentors or coaches along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely someone who empowers people. And, I felt like other positions that I had, within the sales and marketing, industry, I didn't get quite the opportunity that I was given when I was working with Marcus. So,
Okay.
mhm.
Okay. So, how did you meet that coach? Because I want to go back to one thing because I think I read that you were an athlete along the way. I mean, and I'm just wondering if the coaching that you received then and kind of being used to being coached on many things impacted you when you got to business and how you met this person.
Yeah. So, I was a swimmer and water polo player in high school. I went to St. Bonaventure University and also Gannon University, swam. But I fell more in love with the business classes than I did working out and being in the pool all the time.
Okay.
Um, and it was just one of those things where I needed, I stepped away from the position working with Critical Path Resources, and I just needed money at the time, right? To be honest with you. And I got into working with Supreme Management Group, and I thought that I was just, it was going to be a short temporary thing where, I could do sales, I could do some marketing and get involved in that at the entry level and kind of work my way up, possibly. And, I just had the right coaching and right development, not just from working there, but I latched on to other industry leaders. Zach Shook is one of my most influential mentors in this industry. He's in Raleigh, North Carolina. He runs a company called Acquire. So I've been really latched onto him, and he oversees program rollouts on a national level, right? So he oversees close to, I'd say, about 2,000, 3,000 representatives in the industry.
Okay.
So he's a big time leader, and I think I probably call and network with him more than anybody else in the world. So
Okay.
he's been my rock, I guess.
Yeah, so it sounds like your mentality was already there to find a mentor and to reach out to people. You actively sought that out. Not everybody does that. I mean, I can tell you that, in my experience. I mean, do you see that with your business, that not everybody necessarily wants a coach or is actively seeking coaching?
I can agree with that. I think for the most part, when it comes to networking, I think it's just no one's been like a lot of representatives are entry level. They don't know how to network. They
Mm,
don't know how to seek out and be a seeker of knowledge. Right? So I always wanted to I was always a craver of knowledge. I always, not so much in high school, right? So if there's any of my high school teachers out there, they're like, he does not crave knowledge, trust me.
that's
Right.
right.
But in college, when you're paying to go to school, it's a lot different.
Hmm.
And, when you're in the business world, you have to think of that as, you're getting paid, especially in sales and marketing, right? So there's a way, really hourly wage is, a form of payment. So I'm trading
Hmm.
my hours for money. And then there's salary. I'm trading a week for money. And then there's sales and commissionable marketing, right? The commission,
Hmm.
the transfer of knowledge for money, right? So the more your knowledge about products and services, the better you'll be at sales and marketing. Same thing with leadership. Leadership's also a skill. So when we're
Hmm.
building leaders in our industry, the more they know about leadership, to be a really good leader, it's a skill. I don't think there's natural born leaders at all, Jeff, right? I think that people that want to become leaders that, follow other people, you have to have a mentor in leadership, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Hmm.
but I think it's just people have to come out of their shell a little bit and want coaching. Right.
Yeah.
I always had a great coach for swimming and water polo. He'd be a straight shooter and tell me what I needed to hear, not
Hmm.
necessarily what I wanted to hear,
Okay.
So I think those are the best types of coaches. And, just need to humble yourself enough to accept the constructive criticism because it's coming from a good place.
Yeah. Okay. So you've kind of adopted some of those things that you've learned from others. You're straightforward. You're teaching them all those things that you've learned, I guess, or that you value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, and I can relate. Certainly, being a lifelong learner myself, I think once you get into business and you get excited about something, you want to learn more about it. So it sounds like that's kind of where you are, right? I mean, you may not have had that in high school. It's more general studies, but it absolutely has hit you here. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime that, you're gonna and I think a lot of it comes from, the empowerment of that leader, right? So people always want a pat on the back and,
Mm-hmm.
that's always a good
Mm-hmm.
feeling too. So when you're rewarded for your good behavior and you're checked on the bad behavior, I mean, it goes with anything, whether that's sports or, general studies or your willingness to learn business. It's just, you have to be a seeker of information.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Okay. So since we're talking about leadership, talk about your leadership style.
I'm very much straightforward, right?
Okay.
So I don't like to beat around the bush. If I see some of the people in the office, I mean, we have probably 60 representatives that work here.
Okay.
I try to do as many one-on-ones as possible. I have to be on a personal level with my team. Um, we run team nights once a week, every single Wednesday. We did a book club. It was just a quick Zoom call last night that was 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, The Law of the Lid, John C. Maxwell, and
Mm,
we did the first chapter, and then we pertained it to and related it to the rest of what we're doing in the office, in today and the next upcoming weeks. And really just if you don't spend time with your people on a personal level, it helps break down the barriers and the invisible wall from that knowledge to transfer over. So the more you can empower your people, but at the same time, you have to reward them, and you have to call them on their shortcomings too. I think that if I was never told if I was never made aware of a shortcoming, I think I would lose respect for that leader that allowed it to continue to go on and on and on.
mhm,
Right.
mhm,
We hire entry level into management. Right. So if I just let people walk in late and I'm okay with that, they're going to think that that's okay.
mhm,
Right. Hey, their
mhm.
last employer may have allowed that, but they need to know the why behind that, even something as small as that, from an entry level, or somebody who has more leadership experience, a little bit more game, and they have a bigger team. If they're not spending time with their people, right, that's where you lose people, right, and you lose
Yeah.
engagement in the business, and it's not a good thing. So being able to, I think that's one of the hardest things for leaders to do as well, is to call someone on their shortcomings, because that's not a comfortable conversation to have with somebody. But it is a necessary, critical conversation that must be had.
Well, how you excuse me, how you do that, I think, is very important, right? So it sounds like, I wrote down a couple things to describe you: engaging, empowering, direct, and maybe blunt. Maybe earlier in your career, somebody might have said you were blunt. So
Very
talk a little
much.
bit about how that's evolved to be able to give constructive feedback to folks that, as you described, needed it. Maybe.
Yeah. So it's just a system. We call it build, break, build,
Mm,
right? So, people, you have to get the information across, but you have to remain empathetic. Right?
mm-hmm.
Because if you're not empathetic, it's the information will never be received well, right? So, for instance, I'd probably, if there's a entry level representative that comes in here and they're late, I'm not going to just call them out for being late. I'm just going to say, hey, how's everything going on? Is there
Mm-hmm.
any issue at home that you want to talk about? Obviously in a private area, not in front of other people,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, and just sitting down and taking the time to do that can fix so much. It could be that, they were in traffic, and that's not really an excuse here in Charlotte. There's 2.5
Mm-hmm.
million people here and we all drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and we can make light of that well during the break, right? So, but I'd say, hey, maybe his name's Bob. Hey, Bob, I see that you're doing really well, right? Your product knowledge is up to par. All the leaders in the office respect you. You seem like a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you walked in a little bit late, right? How would you feel if you were running the meeting and one of your people walked in late, right? How would that make you feel?
Right.
Right. So then that little bit of sting there, right, that corrects the behavior. It's not as bad as just break will make people want to leave your business. So then we
Yeah.
just go back to build, hey, how can we fix it? You need to go to bed earlier, maybe you
Yeah.
do. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the case. And then we'll probably set an alarm on their phone to go to bed. Right? So, but I think that's the best way to go about it, is just a build, break, build conversation.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So, did I also read that you have multiple offices, or you've opened multiple offices in different cities? Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. We just opened in Portland, Oregon, right?
Oh,
So that's the furthest out. And on our West Coast, we're in Tacoma, Washington, Atlanta, Georgia, Raleigh, Savannah, Charleston, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, right?
hmm.
So New Brunswick and East Brunswick, New Jersey, right?
Okay.
So we're obviously West Virginia too, because when I first launched and opened up, my first office was in Huntington.
Okay.
And then we trained and developed, leaders to run basically the whole state of West Virginia before I came down to Charlotte.
Okay, so leadership development is important for you. Obviously, how you need people in each of those offices to run them. So, do you do all the leadership development for here in Charlotte, or how do you do that?
Yeah, so my sweet spot's coaching about 6 to 8, right?
Mm,
So if I can coach 6 to 8 leaders that can help train and develop 6 to 8 leaders, right?
hmm
Normally that's someone's sweet spot. We have competitors in the industry that, obviously an AT&T or, a leaf filter, they want to use a competitor for staffing purposes to make sure that their brand is out there in the retail. Some of those competitors have failed in the past, and I think the biggest reason was they didn't have enough leadership, right? If your
hmm
company doesn't grow leaders, your company's not growing,
hmm
right? You're scaling, but you're not scaling with momentum, right? And leadership builds momentum in a business. So we like to see, our system, creating leadership, office managers, within a 6 to 8 month time frame, right, to being able to expand into another market or another program.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So you've come a long way in 10 years then, it sounds like, with many offices. And, do you see that continuing for the next 10 years, or what do you see for the next 10 years?
Yeah, the next 10 years, over 100 offices I want to be at,
Wow. Wow.
right?
And where are you at today?
We're at 25.
25. Okay.
Yep, and then our launch of, Wilmington will be 26. AT&T's asking us to do a business to business program in Charlotte,
Mm,
which, we're not used to business because we're more retail based. Um,
hmm
but, they think that this would be one of the best markets in the United States for that, right? So they're asking us to come out of our comfort zone a little bit to do
mm,
that. So we're gonna
okay.
we're gonna launch that. So that'll be 26. We also launched 3 businesses for Costco, for Car Keys Express, one of our
Mm,
other clients. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
I'm not.
um, they can buy and print off a key fob within 10 minutes in a Costco now, right? So if
Oh,
you lose your car key, you can get it replaced. That's been a growing program as well. So we'll probably expand on that. Hopefully we're at the goal is to be at 35 by the end of this year, right?
okay.
So all programs, being able to expand. So we're really investing a lot of time, a lot of finance into the expansion this year and in the upcoming years.
Okay. That's cool. I'm a huge Costco fan, by the way. I tell you what, every chance I get, I can go there. My wife doesn't really want me to go there because I always come back with way too much stuff. So you might be influencing me. And you didn't even know it, but you probably are when I'm there.
I love Costco. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They were business of the year in 2022, according to Yahoo Finance, and they just appointed a new CEO. Craig Jelinek retired, and now it's Ron Wakaris. He actually
Mm,
started as a forklift driver for Costco 30 some odd years ago, I believe.
no kidding. That's a
Yeah,
cool story. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They're we can learn a lot from even the retailers we work with. I
hmm
love talking to the general managers of those stores here in Charlotte because there's so much you can learn from, even a general manager from Costco. I mean, not a lot of people would think, um, they think they're much more of a leader than just a normal, um, retail manager or something along those lines. So they have a quite the business sense and business acumen. So they're really great people.
Yeah, I mean, all the Costco's I've been to, they're always packed. You have to deal with that. There's probably a little bit different clientele. You have to have the right products. You have to be connected with your customers. So that's the leadership you're talking about, right? That's what they have to do.
Yep. So we learn a lot from the way they do things. I mean, they're some of the highest paid, cart guys in the industry, right?
Oh yeah.
And some of them are pushing carts in Costco. They have a master's degree, and they're trying to just work their way up. They develop
Wow.
leadership from within, and they're a great company to model my business after because they're doing everything right. you know.
Yeah. 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 A lot of people have a hard time finding people, let alone, get somebody that maybe is way overqualified for the job that you're doing. That's what you're describing, that people just want to be there. Is that it?
Yeah, the company culture is amazing. We definitely try to model after that. They do some great stuff, fundraising stuff, for their
hmm
employee base. We do the same things here. So
Okay. That's cool.
mhm.
That's cool. Well, let's shift gears a little bit here. I want to ask you about some of the challenges that you have in your business today.
Okay. So biggest challenge I'd have to say is just finding quality people.
Mhm.
With the rising prices on everything and inflation, even ads, Indeed, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, to finding good talent. And I think I read a statistic. It was like one third of the U.S. business population failed during the pandemic. So you
Mm.
have a lot of new startups that are trying to attract talent to their business as well. So it's been very competitive in finding the right talent. And
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest thing because our clients demand, they want to be in, leaf filter, for instance, they're in close to 40 Lowe's home improvements, uh,
Mm.
retail stores in the country. They want us in 1,200.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So the amount of growth just on that program alone, it's hard to find the quality people, right? So
Mhm.
you almost have to look at it as if, you're going to do some legwork, right? Developing people. So you got to take
Mhm.
a little bit more shots at the entry level on people who, they don't have the resume, or the master's degree, but
Mhm.
if they
Mhm.
have if they're determined and they're motivated, they may not you'll do interviews via Zoom and you can't really tell a whole lot of just off the
Mhm.
first round interview.
Mhm.
When you get to meet someone in person, really it's you got to look for the character, right? I think especially in our industry when it comes to customer service, and you want to build a great foundation for company culture as well, to make sure someone fits in, excuse me, along with the you know what our company's shooting for is expansion, growth, leadership development.
Yep.
um and then there's people out there that want to get a job and just have a job,
Mhm.
right? So you
Mhm.
got to be able to be adaptive to the changes, and if you can't adapt, that's going to be very hard to run a business and be able to scale. So I think the biggest challenge is just be finding the right quality candidates for the position.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think, probably most business leaders would agree that that's probably the top issue that they've had for many years. Because you've led through the pandemic. Did it get a lot worse immediately following the start of the pandemic, or did it happen for you really from day one because you're a growing company?
um I think the pandemic shifted for most
Mhm.
people. And I think when a lot of people, it's getting easier now actually
Mm.
than it was,
Mhm.
and it just requires a little bit of extra time with people, right? To make sure they're taken care of. You got to think about, as far as my business goes, I'd have to say, before the pandemic, there was a lot more businesses just trying to grab, people at entry level. The
Mhm.
pandemic changed the way that we do business,
Yeah.
right? So you see a hotel, 4 or 5 people at the front desk at the Marriott, now there's 2 or 3,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So I think a lot of businesses realize that they don't need a lot of what they had that they were paying for, and they made a decision to reap more profits by cutting down the amount of employees that they have on the books. And that opened up for a lot of other things. A lot of people are working from home, right, throughout
Mhm.
the pandemic.
Mhm.
There's college kids, and they did not have the college experience that I had. I can tell you that, Jeff, right?
Mhm.
Just being behind a computer screen. And I think these kids, they want to be face to face. So I think
Yeah.
now, you know, uh, 4 years, um, well, not post pandemic, but it is post pandemic
Yeah.
somewhat,
Just
right?
it
But
started.
you have, yeah. And I think these people want to be out. They want to be face to face. They want to be back in the office because we're not built as humans to work behind a computer desk all day or go to college behind a computer desk. So
Mhm.
I think they
Mhm.
want the interaction, but I think they still want that home life, and the option to be able to work from home too, right?
Yep.
So I think you have to cater that to, especially the young kids that are coming out of college. And then people that were outgoing and they were face to face, and then they got stuck at home. You
Yeah.
know, they would just want to be back out there. So everybody's going to be different in the interview process, but I think we're going to see some uptick in the future of a lot of people that want to go back to face,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I think they want that flexibility is what you're describing. Being face to face is important. I agree with you. That we're needed as humans, to be together with people and interact. And but that flexibility for the home life is really important. 1 day, 2 days, whatever that is. I can tell you in my business, when I was there, we had 1,000 employees going into the pandemic. We were at 910, after the lockdown, and we found exactly what you said. We found that, there probably were things that we could do other ways, that we didn't need people. And that came from the necessity. We couldn't find people. We couldn't hire them. Right. I mean, that was a real issue, and it continues to be an issue because the dynamic for people has changed a lot. And maybe tell me this, do you find, you said you had to get, or try with some folks that maybe are first time employees or new employees, entry level. Do you find yourself maybe recruiting at colleges or other places more now to get folks that coming from a place that they've been prepared well?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, well, if I'm hiring, we hire for two different things, right? So we hire for direct sales, direct marketing, which is more of an
Hmm.
entry level position.
Okay.
Uh, pretty simple, right? We're going out, we're talking about AT&T. There's
Okay.
it's a we can find a lot of people for that. A lot of people that have, they were in a sorority, fraternity, sporting, they were in sports, high school, college.
Hmm.
I think 80% of our employee base here played high school or college ball, right?
Okay.
At
Okay.
some level, right? Of, team building and stuff like that. So that's what I'm looking for when I go to hire, right? People who want to be a part of a team, they think bigger picture, right, for
Hmm.
the leadership side of our business. And with the demand, for what we have for our clients, we need to be able to adapt and find the need to hire someone who just wants entry level experience in sales, right?
Hmm.
So we got to hire from a little bit of both and kind of get creative with those things. But a lot of I'd say maybe 10% of our employee base is personal recruiting, right?
Okay.
College kids that, got their foot in the door at an entry level position. They work their way up into a leadership role, and, they have some buddies that they played college golf with, right?
Mm.
Or, their buddy that, he's still, bartending, but he wants to be in direct marketing, direct sales, and he just couldn't get his foot in the door anywhere else. We even pay for relocation expenses for some of the employees because, Charlotte's a melting pot.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be here in Charlotte. And, we have guys from, South Carolina, LSU, Ohio State, all over the map that relocate down to Charlotte for opportunity because it is a growing city. Um, so they're even personal recruiting. We've even offered, to put someone in an Airbnb for a whole month to find a place in Charlotte just so they could relocate,
Hmm.
so you just got to be creative with the hiring these days. And it's not going to come just from, putting an ad on Indeed and you hopefully get the right person in front of you, because you'll spend a lot of unnecessary time filtering through interviews
Hmm.
with potential candidates that aren't a good fit for the position. So I don't really even think that most people read the entire ad. I think they
Yeah.
see the headline of the ad and they apply based on the headline. They don't even read the rest of it, right? So, but that's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Any other issues that pop up that maybe aren't quite as big as finding and training the right people, but do you have other issues in the business today?
Um, the demand, right?
Mm.
So uh, we won, best in class. With Costco, we were partner of the year with DirecTV back in the
Mm.
day, and AT&T, and they want more from us, right?
Okay.
So, and then there's always new programs. I don't think there's a company that doesn't want to be showcased in Costco,
Mm.
right? So there's always a list of clients that want to work with us. and launch new programs. So it's just recruiting, it goes back to recruiting. Do we have enough people to roll out a program?
Okay. Okay. So yeah, if you do a good job, your clients want more. Is that it?
Yeah,
So it's the,
and you find more clients too.
yeah.
They're coming to us now as opposed to us going to them.
Oh, well, that's
So
fun. That's good.
yeah,
Good for you. Yeah, that's a good stage. A lot of people are struggling to, find new business sometimes to grow. You're really not, sounds like you're not that stage. That's not you.
no, not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay. So speaking of new business ventures, you shared with me that you're working on some other things. You have some other businesses. Are you at liberty to talk about that?
Yeah, I could touch on that. I dabble in rental properties, right?
Mm,
A little bit of that. That's kind of like a side hustle for me. But
okay.
most recently, I got involved with a couple guys in Voodoo Brewing, right? So we're actually going to launch Charlotte's first Voodoo brewery here towards the tail end of this year. So
Hmm.
we're in the middle of looking for spaces right now, and we're in between Noda and in South End, right? So
Oh,
we're gonna be in one of those locations. Hopefully, we get to share that with you guys soon. Sooner the better. We're excited.
yeah, because Voodoo is from Erie, Pennsylvania, correct?
Yeah, so they brew in Meadville. They ship everything out. Erie's a big location for them, so a
Okay.
lot of the corporate guys, that own the Voodoo brand,
Hmm.
they're from the Erie area. So small
Okay.
world.
Yeah, I know. And so they would brew up there and then bring it down here. Then you would just have a place that you would put up here.
Yeah, so there's when it comes to like the breweries and things like that, I mean, that's a big business that changed during the pandemic too. It's
Hmm. Hmm.
expensive to brew beer, but when you can have a great tasting beer that is not a huge brand, it's a small brewery that can be shipped and delivered. Everything's a QR code, so you scan a QR. There's not a whole lot of people that actually work inside there anymore, and
Yep.
Brewmaster's not cheap either, right? So
Right.
it's a great model. So we wanted to get involved when it. We're probably going to launch 2 locations in Charlotte and hopefully one in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I was sharing with you, my wife and I, we enjoy beer, so we try and visit a lot of the brew pubs that are around, and they're quite the gathering places now. You're right. I mean, that wasn't that way 10 years ago, and you see a lot of dogs there, pets, even kids kind of hanging out. There's places for kids to hang out and have fun while their, parents have a beer together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, when we're up and running, Jeff, you got to come in. I got a couple beers for you on the house. All right.
Definitely, definitely. I can't wait. I love to do that. Okay, so all right, let me ask a little different question here. I get a sense you like a lot about your business, but what do you like most about your business today?
People.
People, yeah.
Absolutely. The people. I mean, I was mentored and I had the opportunity to grow. And, like I said before, I worked for other industries in direct sales and direct marketing before I started doing this. And I felt I didn't get the opportunity to grow.
Hmm.
And, now at 10 years, you fast forward, I run, new age marketing, and now it's my turn to give those people that were just like me 10 years ago opportunity to
Hmm.
expand and grow and manage people. So I love to see someone come in at the entry level and really, give them an opportunity to grow and run their own office. So it's been amazing.
Okay.
That's really the best, most rewarding part of the job.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a cool culture. I assume once you find the right people that they generally stay a long time. Is that right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the 3 round interview process. We're looking at resumes. We're looking at, their Facebook and their social media to really
Okay.
gauge somebody before we bring them in for even a 3rd round interview. But, the company culture is amazing. It's tough to make a tough decision if someone's not a good fit, right? It's really hard to have those types of conversations. And I think the company culture is amazing, with what we've built here in the last 10 years because, people want to work. They want to come to work. They want to work on a weekend.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see it.
Yeah. So in the next 10 years, when you get to 100 locations, how many people would you see working for you then at New Age?
100 locations, probably 500, 600.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a bunch.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 100 locations, you would be in what? Every major metropolitan area in the country. Is that typically where you would be?
that's the goal. If Costco gives us 100 more stores, I want to run all 100.
Okay.
They give
Okay.
us more Lowe's Home Improvement, and that partnership goes a long way. Hopefully it does. They're a great company as well. I want to be in every place in the country. I want
Okay.
to go big for these clients because they help us a lot.
I
They
bet. I
they do a
bet.
lot for us.
Well, Lowe's is headquartered here, correct? I mean, so that's good for you.
Mhm.
Is Where is Costco headquartered? I don't even know.
Costco is it Kirkland, Washington? That
Oh,
was
so
the
that's where
first
the Kirkland.
location.
I see. Okay.
Yep.
Now I get it. I didn't know that. All
Yeah.
right. Well, they have, boy, they'd have thousands of locations between the two of them around the US. So hopefully getting to 100 for you is very doable. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can see it.
for sure.
Yeah. All right. So all right. So let's talk a little bit about maybe your journey here too. You've talked a little bit about it, but I was with a couple other CEOs here in the last couple weeks, and then we talked a lot about kind of what they've learned, and it's interesting to digest that. So if you kind of look back on your career, maybe summarize for everybody what you've learned or some of the key points you've taken away from your career so far.
Yes, that's a good question. And I think, the biggest thing that I've learned in entrepreneurship and leadership development is if you're not striving to become a better version of yourself, your people aren't going to do the same,
Yeah.
right? They need to see that. Um, the biggest things that really help me is just finding a mentor, spending time on that, really self-development. Um, Most people when they come home, they drive into the office, they listen to music, right? Which is okay because that's the instant fix for, just relaxation and things like that. But
Hmm.
I'm huge on Audible, right?
Hmm.
So to get what is it? 3 credit hours is 3 books in college, right?
Hmm.
Roughly. I think I go through 3 books a month
Oh,
on
really?
Audible because I just find the time, and it's all leadership development or something along those lines.
Hmm.
Self-help books, psychology, the way people think, emotional
Hmm.
intelligence, the HBR's 10 best reads. Those are I'm a huge fan of those.
Okay.
Uh, so anytime I get to myself is, in the car on the way to the office or the way home, there's always Audible playing. It's always, something in, just consuming knowledge. So if you're not trying to be better version, business should make you better for your spouse. Business should make you better for your children, your parents,
Hmm.
your friends, your family. So just being able to want to be better for other people. I think that's the biggest thing in business today because you want to work for someone who wants to grow themselves and become a better version of themselves. We tell all our new starts here, we have one rule of business, and that's if you're not becoming a better version of yourself, what are you doing?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
trying to get 1% better every single day is the goal, and that inspires our leaders to grow and become better versions of themselves, and that should spill over into your home life.
Yeah, no doubt. I had a big sports background growing up, and into college, and I still can hear my coach, walking around as we're stretching, to get better every day, and that get better every day was the same thing that rings in my ear, or has rung in my ear since the day I got to the business. I mean, so that's cool. I can certainly relate to kind of what you're saying. Now, your role, I mean, because as you evolved in this, I mean, certainly as the founder has changed. How has that changed for you? If you think back maybe to day one, there's only a few people, and to today.
I think, I'm more of the mentor. I'm the go-to, right?
Hmm.
So my name may be on the front of the check, but I'm not the boss, right?
Mm,
I have to go and do the entry level stuff.
okay.
Uh, I think we're going to have major success in the restaurant industry with the brewery
Okay.
because I'm not afraid to go and scrub some dishes, right?
Hmm.
I'm not afraid to go into Costco and sell a cell phone or go to Lowe's Home Improvement and be on the sales floor, right?
Okay.
So I think just being a great example, and being able to show the guys and gals in the office that I still got it at the entry level too,
Okay.
so I think that it's a lot of fun. It keeps me feeling young too,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm turning 40 this year, so
Ah,
that's a milestone in itself. But doing going to do the entry level to help somebody grow, even at the entry level role is it's what needs to be done. Not
okay.
necessarily what you
Okay.
want to do, but it's what you have to do to really develop people. Because the person that comes in at an entry level role here, they may not have a whole lot of sales or marketing or leadership experience. And if I'm the mentor and I'm the leader and I'm the person that is the go-to, if I have to go spend some time with them in a retail store, that's what I'm doing, you know?
Okay. Okay. Now think ahead. I mean, because when you get to 100 stores and you have hundreds of employees, can you still do that? I mean, can you? Because you're going to have to be the demands on running the business are probably going to be bigger, much bigger at that point, I would think. So do you see
Yeah.
that changing? Do you see that morphing?
Yeah, it is now. I've been seeing it for the last 2 or 3 years. The infrastructure
Mm,
has to be built out. We need more administrators, more recruiters. We need, more leaders,
yep.
so
Yep.
uh, better quality leaders. And, not that's to say that our guys aren't great quality, right? Right. But if it goes back to me just becoming better myself, right? If
Yeah.
I can do that and uplift and empower our leadership core to step up and think bigger, right? I think getting to 100 isn't going to be the biggest challenge. I think the biggest challenge is internal, right? Becoming the better version.
Yeah, always raising the bar, kind of on what you are doing and what everybody's doing, frankly, right? That's good. That's a great
Absolutely.
culture to have. You built something pretty cool there, Jared. It seems nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, so really, just I want to wrap up with this. I always kind of wrap up with this because I think it's good, and it may take us a couple of different directions. But think about other people that might have been or will be in your position, as they think about what they want to do with their career, and then what advice would you give them? If they were the new executive, a new founder, or maybe they're taking over as a CEO of a larger company, what would you tell them?
I'd tell them to be off balance.
Yeah.
If you're starting, if you're in a startup, you're in a big management position, I always, try to get as much done in a day as I possibly can. I'll at the beginning of the week, Jeff, I'll take three main things
Hmm.
that I want to accomplish during the week, right?
Okay.
If I can accomplish those three things, right, during the week, and I can do that over a 6 week string, right? And be told if I'm off balance, obviously I'm telling my wife that I'm going to be a little bit off balance and working a lot more, right? But if I do that for 6 straight weeks, I accomplished the 18 major tasks in the business and push the business forward, right?
Yep.
So I don't really work on a schedule either, right? I work until I knock out those goals, So if
Okay.
I have the 3 goals for the week, if I get two done at the beginning of the week, and I'm focused, ultra laser beam focused on knocking out that third goal, by Sunday. And if it takes till Sunday night to get it done, that's what you have to do, especially with a startup, because your competition in business when you need more employees is every other business,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So our competition here isn't other marketing agencies, it's Wells Fargo. They
Yeah.
want to hire great quality people. So does every business,
Hmm.
right? So you got to get ahead of the game. So if that requires you to be off balance a little bit and more on the work side instead of the home life, you're going to have to do that, right?
Mm.
But you have to do things that you necessarily don't want to do to be able to enjoy the things, after you accomplish those goals, to the fullest. So
Okay, so by off balance, you mean that maybe work takes more of your work life balance than normal. Is that what you're saying by off balance?
yeah, I think, with it, especially for the younger generations, I mean, you have crazy inflation and the rent's so high in
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, and the minimum wage hasn't even moved, right? You
Yeah.
kind of have to be off balance, until you can get caught up with things, or
Mm-hmm.
you're never gonna get caught up with things, right? So set goals high. Um, you should always want to have some kind of savings every single week, whether you're direct sales, direct marketing, you're in the tech industry, you still
Mm-hmm.
have to hit goals to you know to move the company forward. That's how you get a pay increase in corporate America, right?
Yep.
So if you
Yep.
want to climb the ladder to be in a different income bracket, you gotta be a little bit off balance, right? And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are going to tell you that's crazy. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people are going to say, hey, no, you need to spend more time here, more time here, more time here. Jeff, I put in a lot of work and a lot of energy my first 3 years in business. And now that I have kids, I run new age marketing, all these offices. I'm opening a brewery. We have the real estate business on the side, but I still coach baseball for my 7-year-old. I
Mm.
still have time to do that now that I'm 40, and he's going to remember that, you
Yep.
know? And really that's the first thing, is just be a little bit off balance. It's okay to do that, because if as long as you're doing that to provide for your family and your future, that's totally okay. You know. And then really the second thing is just be where your feet are,
Yeah.
right? When you are off balance, you got to be where your feet are. You can't go home to your spouse or your girlfriend or
Mm.
boyfriend and be conducting business at the dinner table, because
Mm.
to them, the business is more important than them when they see that. I'll never, if I'm on the phone call and I pull up in the driveway, I have to finish the phone call before I open the door to my house, because if my kids see me on the phone, now business is more important,
And
to daddy than them. So if that means I have to cut my call a little bit short, hey guys, I got to hop off. I'll call you in 15, 20 minutes,
mm-hmm.
but I got to be dad when I go home, so
Yeah.
being where your feet are helps find the work-life balance, especially when you have to put in all the energy into a startup or, a new position.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Any other advice? I mean, those two things: be present, be where your feet are, and you got to be off balance at times. Especially when you got big things to do.
yeah, and it goes both ways. If you're at the office and your spouse calls, you got to, and you're in the middle of a training class, you got to finish the training class. I
Right.
tell them, even in orientation, I still run orientations to this day for the entire organization, because I want to be
Okay.
a part of it, and I don't want to be so high up as a CEO one day that I don't have time for the entry level people.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally tell them, hey, I talk about work-life balance, I talk about be where your feet are, and I say, hey, if my wife calls me, I'm not going to answer the phone, because right now this is providing for her and the kids.
Right.
And, they're like, oh, okay. Now they're understanding it, especially at an entry level. And, you know, but if she calls 3 times, I've put in enough work to have another leader finish the orientation so I can take that call, because it's probably an emergency if the phone rings 3 times. So, uh,
Yeah.
if we're dealing with people at the entry level position in Costco, I can't be on the phone with somebody, right? That
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't pertain to business,
Right.
right? Because that's what the most important thing is what's in front of me right now, you know?
Okay, okay, that's good advice. Yeah, and it brings up another question, I guess. So I got one more for you. All right, I
Okay.
mean, 'cause work-life balance is a challenge, and that certainly, I think all executives would say that sometimes they're out of balance. But for you, you've talked a little bit about it here. I mean, I would say, how has that evolved for you, where you've been able to maintain it so it's a good balance, with work at times and at home with your wife and your kids and the family.
I think it's totally situational.
Mm-hmm.
If we're launching a new client, I have to have conversations with the family leading up to that.
Okay.
I've even sent them on a vacation with their family to say, hey, daddy's going to be gone for I'm going to be dialed in for 2 weeks here. you know,
Mm-hmm.
I may fall asleep at my desk. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
have team meetings. I got to meet with clients and things like that. So maybe the best situation is just to send them to Disney or something like that, and I can focus on the business, right?
Okay.
That way,
Okay.
they still get what they need from me, right? Which is they get a Disney trip. Dad may not be around for that one, but they're going to remember, when they turn 18 years old and and they're then their 20s, 30s, what I had to do to get to where I was at, and I think that's important too, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
even if it's you have that's more of like the drastic side of things,
Hmm.
right? But I think it goes back to just be where your feet are as well. It's important to have a home life, right? Whatever that looks like for somebody. Everybody's different.
Hmm.
I had a gentleman who came in and worked for me, and his wife couldn't work, right? But she wanted all his time. Well, they're not
Hmm.
going to be able to pay their bills if he's not working to make up for So that was that was a hard conversation to have. And he came to me, months after we had the conversation. He's like, I'm so glad we had that conversation because
Yeah.
now she knows I'm doing the business for her, right?
Hmm.
I'm doing it to provide for the family, and this business is right in his wheelhouse. He's probably one of our top performers now,
Ah,
right? So it's really great to see that stuff happen, and then later down the line is when that's going to shift. So
yeah.
startup, you got to be off balance. It'll make up for itself later on. You
And
know,
communicate when that situation changes. I think that's really good. And, being able to recognize, to the example you gave with your employee, I mean, recognize, how you can communicate that. Cause I think that's important. I think a lot of folks would be, families and business folks would be, they'd be open to that thought that maybe you can't be there all the time, one way or another, as long as you communicate why and there is a fair balance, somewhere along the way that kind of ebbs and flows. Is that a summary of what you're saying?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the conversation is the easiest thing to not have,
Yeah.
right? But it is necessary, a preemptive conversation of, hey, I got it. I have a client meeting. There's nothing that I can do about it. I mean, if Costco says you got to fly to Seattle, it's my wife's birthday. I kind of have to go fly to Seattle, right? So there's not like we can celebrate it. We'll celebrate it for 6 days instead of just one,
Hmm.
right? And we'll take the whole week, right? Maybe we'll go to Seattle,
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but that business meeting, obviously, there's other people on the end of that work for whatever company that's the only time they can do it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's cool. Jared, look, I really have enjoyed our discussion, and I can see why you've been successful. So good luck to you, and thanks again for being on the show.
excellent. Yeah, Jeff, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Good to see someone from Erie, Pennsylvania. That's awesome down here in Charlotte. So I really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing it live. So